Hello, anybody who's watching, and I hope some of you are students from room 7. I guess it's probably not some other people. Anyway, hello my beautiful students, I miss you. I'm going to try something which some people have told me that they've heard other teachers are doing, which is I'm going to record some things that you can then look at from YouTube if you want to. And I'm going to start off a read aloud today. This is a chapter book, which I really loved reading with my students, with my children. I've never read it to my class before, but I think in some ways it might give some comfort in these times. This book is called Abel's Island. It's by William, I'm not sure if it's Steig or Stieg. He's written a lot of books that are really beloved, like Sylvester and the Magic Penny, and also Dr. DeSoto, which are picture books that I recommend. We always like to do a little sneak peek, so you can see on the cover of this book there's a little mouse, and he's sitting in a tree looking up into the sky. This is actually a Newbery Honor book. That's not the moon, although it might look like it. And on the back it says, "Whatever child likes the Bat Poet or Charlotte's Web will love the way Stieg uses our language." And I always read Charlotte's Web with my classes, so I'm still hoping that I will get to read it with all of you. But now I'm going to read a chapter of Abel's Island. Early in August 1907, the first year of their marriage, Abel and Amanda went to picnic in the woods, some distance from the town where they lived. The sky was overcast, but Abel didn't think it would be so inconsiderate as to rain when he and his lovely wife were in the mood for an outing. They enjoyed a pleasant lunch in the sunless woods, sharing delicate sandwiches of pot cheese and watercress, along with hard-boiled quail egg, onions, olives, and black caviar. They toasted each other and everything else with a bright champagne, which was kept cool in a bucket of ice. Then they played a jolly game of croquet, laughing without much reason, and they continued laughing as they relaxed on a carpet of moss. Now, if we were in the classroom, I think there might be some children doing this because you might have questions about words. And it's always good to make sure you understand what a word is. Caviar, does anyone know? It's kind of a fancy food that people think is a real luxury, and I think it's fish eggs of some kind. I've never had it. Champagne is a very fancy kind of bubbly wine, and people also usually have it for a celebration. And croquet, there's actually a picture of them playing croquet. So you have to hit this ball through these things, which I think are called wickets. So I think we're gathering from this the kind of people that Abel and Amanda are. They're kind of wealthy and they like to do fancy things. Well, they're not people, but. When this happy nonsense got boring, Amanda crawled under a fern to read, and Abel went off by himself for a bit, roaming among the trees, admiring the verdure, greenness. He saw a crowd of daisies clustered above him like gigantic stars, and decided to cut one down and present his wife with a pretty parasol. Let's see if you can figure out from the picture what a parasol might be. It's kind of like an umbrella, right? But you use it in the sun, and it's actually parasol, means for the sun in Spanish. Abel was already smiling at the little joke he would make as he held it over her head. He chose a perfect daisy, and using his handkerchief to avoid being soiled by the sap, carefully cut through the stem with his penknife. The daisy over his shoulder, he sallied back toward his wife, very pleased with himself. What do you think sallied means? It grew windy rather suddenly, and some rain fell wherever it could through the foliage. The bushes, the trees, the flowers. It was hard to hold on to the flower. His wife was under the fern exactly where he'd left her, absorbed in the life of her book. "I have something for you," he said, lifting the tip of the fern. Amanda looked up at him with large, puzzled eyes, as if a page of words had unaccountably turned into her husband. A sharp gust of wind tore the daisy from his grasp. "It's raining," Amanda observed. "Indeed it is," said Abel indignantly, as the rain fell harder. It flailed down while they tried to gather their things. They huddled under Abel's jacket, he offended at the thoughtless weather, she worried, both hoping the downpour would soon let up. It didn't. It grew worse. Tired of waiting and of wondering where all that water came from, they decided to make a break for it. With the jacket over them, they headed for home, leaving their picnic behind, but they could make little progress against the wind. There was some angry thunder and dazzling flares of lightning near and far. "Dear one," cried Abel, "we must find shelter anywhere." They stopped bucking the wind and ran skeltering with it in dismay. And I'm not really sure what skeltering means, but I can imagine that it's the way that they're running, which is kind of like helter-skelter all over the place. Clinging together, they ran, or were blown, through the woods and eventually came up against a great rocky cliff that shimmered in the pounding rain. They could be blown no further. The shelter they'd been seeking was very close. "Up here," some voices called. "Up here." Abel and Amanda looked up. Not far above them was the opening of a cave from which various furry faces peered out. They clambered together up into the cave, greatly relieved and panting for breath. That's the end of Chapter 1. I'll install Chapter 2 soon.